You played one 2D platformer, you played them all, right? No. How dare you say that? Hopefully you don't think that. I know some people out there think that, but they're wrong. There are thousands and, thousands of 2D platformers. That sounds like a fair number to say. And they've been around for a very long time, and they're still being made today. And one of the newest ones on the way is Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, which comes from Playtonic. Now, Playtonic, as Playtonic, has one other game under their belt, and that is Yooka-Laylee. And that game aimed to recreate the experience of the 3D platformer from the N64 days. So Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64, things like that. The game released and had a mixed response. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was perfect or fantastic, but I did have my fun with it. I thought it was a nice little flashback to that era, and that was that. Now they've taken things in the 2D direction with Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, and boy, what a great decision that was, because it really worked out for them. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is an absolute joy, and it is honestly one of my favorite 2D platformers in recent memory, no joke. For those who don't know, Playtonic is made up almost entirely of former Rare developers, and Rare has made some of the best 2D and 3D platformers in the video game industry. That's how many feel. I feel that way too. Now, why didn't the original Yooka-Laylee come together? I think the team tried to mimic too much of the N64 3D platformers for all their pitfalls and promise as well. So they accurately recreated the experience of those days, but some of that was better left in the past. Now, when it comes to Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, 2D platformers have been going for years and years and years. 3D platformers kind of disappeared, but 2D platformers are here to stay. So there's not really any of those same pitfalls or anything like that. And a solid platformer back then is still a solid platformer now. And Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is very confident in providing an extremely solid 2D platformer. It doesn't try and reinvent the wheel. It provides a lot of familiar mechanics as far as 2D platformers play, but it's just so well done, and it's such an enjoyable experience, and there's just so much heart in it. It feels great in every single way, shape, and form. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair starts off with a little bit of a cue from Breath of the Wild, because right after the intro level, you can go to the final boss if you want. It's not hidden, it's right there, you can take it on and try and beat the game right then and there. I did not do that because I want to see what the game has to experience to tell you guys about it. Also, trying to beat the game right off the bat is going to be very difficult because you don't have all the mechanics and abilities available to you yet. You earn those as you go along. And that's really how the game works, because each stage will have this little B character at the end of it, and this B character earns you another hit. So these Bs like gang up to create a shield around you, and each time you get hit, one of the Bs flies away. So the more levels you beat, the more Bs you get for your shield, and the more chances you have to make it through the Impossible Lair. So pretty much, you could try it from the beginning, or you could do like a handful of levels and give it a shot, or you can gain every single B that's out there and then give the boss a run. It's completely up to you. I really like that idea. You get your little playable intro, you learn about the Impossible Lair, and then you're let loose. You go onto the world map and you play a level, or you pick what level you want to go into. Levels are gated off, which I'll get into later on, but you'll have a selection of a handful of levels at the start, and you hop in. And again, it's very traditional, very straightforward platforming, and I mean that as a compliment. It just is very sure of itself in those mechanics. You have a jump, you have a sort of flutter jump, you have a ground pound, and there's a couple other things in there that you do. You can use your tongue to collect items in a level and spit them out at enemies, or use them to open up secret passages. Like you'll use your tongue to pick up a key to open a door or something like that. But there's not anything like mind-boggling here as far as brand new mechanics. It's just a very traditional platformer. But man, does it feel good. And a lot of it feeling good has to do with the level design, obviously. Movement of the character is super, super important, and Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair nails that. But level design has to be fun, and the levels here are really, they're amazing. They feel really good. You feel like you've seen like the themes of all platforming levels so far, like ice level, water level, fire level, jungle level, all that stuff. But Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair makes everything feel really cohesive. You get like there's kind of like a town vibe in some of the levels, like the different buildings and houses and stuff. It just feels like a real place. And then there's factories that you work your way through, and a factory isn't anything new for a platformer, but there's just so much attention to detail in all of these locations. Like the factory has all kinds of unique lighting to it, and tubes, and just mechanical bits, and just lights flashing all over the place, and it's just it feels good. The environments feel so alive, and the platforming in those environments is just a lot of fun. It's precise platforming that gets harder as you go on, and that's exactly what I want. The earlier stages give you a bit more room to, you know, make mistakes and explore a little bit. They don't ask anything too difficult of you, but later on you get to some really challenging elements that put your platforming skills to the test, and I really like that. And it's just all built so well, and it shows the pedigree of Playtonic's developers, because again, these are people who used to work for Rare, and they know how to do this stuff, and they have created a platformer here that I certainly think measures up to what Retro did with Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It almost feels like the teams could be interchangeable, and obviously Playtonic with its Rare developers were the original. That's where Retro got their inspiration from, but boy, Playtonic's team still has it, because these levels are so much fun to play, and there's just so much to do and see. Staying in stride with 2D platformers are Collectibles, and Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair certainly has its fair share of collectibles. Some of them are collectible just because you want to collect them, other ones are collectible because you need to get them. In the need to category are coins, and I said I was going to get to this earlier. Coins are hidden throughout every level. There's 5 in each. As far as I remember, there's 5 in each, and some are hidden really well. Some you're going to be like, where the hell are these things? Which I like in a platformer. I don't like ones that are just like floating in the air and you just jump and grab them. I like a little bit of a challenge, and there's some that really took me a while to find. And these coins are how you access new parts of the overworld. You pay the coins to Trouser Snake, who was in Yooka-Laylee. I'm not getting into that joke, but he has invented this new thing called a paywall, and you have to give him microtransactions with these coins to open up new levels. So it's obviously a joke there, and I like that. But yeah, you collect these coins, and usually you can grab enough on your first run through that you'll have the amount needed to unlock the next set of levels. It's not like you're ever struggling to find enough, unless you get like later in the game, then you're going to need a little bit more. But yeah, you should be fine just going through normally and grabbing a few and getting what you need. But as I said, I love finding those collectibles. Also, there's in the overworld, there are tonics that you can get. You can buy them or you can find them, and tonics will change how the game works. Sometimes the tonic, well, every tonic does its own thing. So a tonic will change maybe the filter on the screen so it looks a certain way, or a tonic will change how many hits you can take, or a tonic will let you do a certain type of jump or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of them to find, and you apply them before you start a level, so you can make the game easier, harder, look completely different. And they're fun to collect because you never know what tonic you're going to get, and you never know what it's going to do, and you might find a great combination of tonics that really changes the game and how it plays, which leads to a whole level of replay based on tonics. I can see people doing speedruns or second playthroughs based on just getting a specific tonic and then running through the levels that way, just to add in a unique challenge. As I said, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is straightforward in its platforming goodness, and again, I mean that as a compliment, but there are some unique wrinkles in here that are worth pointing out. One of them certainly takes from Yoshi's Island, because when you get hit, Yooka and Laylee can be split up from one another, and Laylee will like fly around the screen for a certain amount of time and then disappear. But unlike in Yoshi's Island, you can continue on just as Yooka. Now Yooka on his own will not have the same amount of moves, so you're not going to be able to do all the things you could do if Laylee were around and hanging out with you, so that makes it more challenging. Again, something else that you could decide to do on a playthrough just to give yourself more of a challenge. There are bells throughout levels that once you touch them, Yooka will come flying back and you two are joined back up. So it's not, some of the levels put the bells few and far between, but you should be able to get Laylee back in most instances. But if you do lose Laylee and then get hit again as Yooka, unless you have some sort of tonic in play, then you're going to die and you're going to have to start over. There's also the game's overworld, which I said you have to use coins to unlock new areas, but the overworld in and of itself has a decent amount of gameplay to it, and it's actually fun. Like, usually in an overworld where instead of it's just like, you know, a line on a map and you go from one point to the next, I'm not like into it because it feels boring. But Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair makes it a lot of fun. There's some exploration to go on, there's enemies to take out, there's puzzles to solve, there's key puzzles and lever puzzles, and guys who are like, oh, I need your help me find this, or help get this thing for me, and you gotta wander around to find that. There's all kind of hidden paths all over the place. Honest to God, the overworld was a lot of fun. I was really surprised with it. I wasn't like, oh God, now I'm out of a level and I gotta go through this overworld crap. I really enjoyed it. It was a great way to break up the pace of the 2D levels, and to tell you the truth, it's not that I needed that pace broke up. It felt great the whole time, but I actually legitimately look forward to the back and forth between the two, which I don't know that I can name any other 2D platformer where I was like, I enjoy the overworld map as much as I enjoy the 2D platforming. The one real unique twist here comes from how you can change the level design in the overworld. So levels will be split into two sometimes, or you'll have the opportunity to split them into two, or I should say, I guess, alter their layouts. And at first I was a little worried about this because I was like, just going into the same level again and it's slightly different. This is padding for the game to make it feel bigger than it actually is. But I will admit, I had that feeling and I was wrong. So what happens is you'll have berries that you can spit at, like, all the levels are books on the overworld map, like pages of a book. And you can spit a berry at it to change its properties, or you'll be able to hit it with water that'll change its properties, so you can turn a level into a flooded level, or a level into a fiery level, or things like that. And when you're going through the course of any given level, you might see paths that you simply have no way of accessing. There's nothing you can do to reach them. But then when you do these like property changes, like, you know, if a level turns from just a regular level into an ice level, it might freeze over a fountain that gives you access to a whole new portion of a level. And the levels really do feel new. They play completely differently. You take completely different paths through the levels. There might be some areas where you go through the same portions of a building or same portions of an overall level, but still the properties are going to be different. There will be different enemies. You're going to handle things differently. There will be different platforms. So I was surprised at how much different it felt. I was really worried it was just going to feel like a boring retread of the levels already, and nothing makes me lose interest in a platformer more than playing a level over again where it's supposed to be new and different, but it's really nothing has changed, and that is not the case here. I legitimately enjoyed it. By the time I had done like 3 or 4 of them, I was like, man, they really put a lot of thought into changing up these levels to make them feel fresh compared to the first time you run through. It also helps that the levels look gorgeous. I really think Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is a very nice looking game. It's really vivid and colorful. The design of everything is really pleasing. It's just a joy to look at. I just love the style of the game overall. I know the original Yooka-Laylee got dragged a bit for how it looked and how it ran on the Switch, even after some updates. And it seems like Playtonic really took that to heart, because Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair runs really well and I think looks really good. Now, if you're looking for specifics on resolution and frame rate and all that stuff, I'm not your guy. I can't tell you that stuff. You're gonna have to turn to Digital Foundry or something like that. But I can tell you, I can't remember ever having an instance of a frame rate hiccup that screwed me over or really popped up at all. Maybe in the overworld map there'll be like a 1 or 2 second hit at certain portions, but nothing at all that ever stuck out to me, or nothing that I even really feel that I need to address. It runs really well. It looks really good. I mean, hopefully in this footage that you're seeing, you would agree. It's a really nice looking game. If you know me, you've probably figured out that I'm leaving my personal favorite for last, and that's music. Because Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair has, I don't know, the perfect soundtrack. It's absolutely spot on perfect for what I expect from a platformer like this. And again, it comes from Playtonic, who's former Rare. They know who to work with. They know the sound to get. And there's classic composers here, classic video game composers, and newcomers here that are mimicking the style of 2D platformer music that we've heard in numerous games throughout the years, and they do a perfect job. Every single song is so fantastic, and they have to do variations on those songs because when you change the theme of a level or the property of a level, like I said earlier, you change up the song too. So, you know, a regular song goes to an underwater song, or a regular song goes to a ice song, or, you know, so it's the same theme just with instruments changed up and pacing changed up. But all the tunes are wonderfully composed. All the music is a joy. All the music gets stuck in your head. So many great, fun, bouncy songs. Usually when I play a game, if I hear a song that is a remix of a song from, you know, a game, a previous game in the franchise, if I really like that song and I really like that franchise, I will tear up. When it comes to Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, right from the first song, I started to tear up, and it's, you know, it's an original song. I was just like, man, they really nailed the type of music this game needs to really get that vibe across, to get the 2D platformer vibe that they're going for. And every song after that, I was like, holy crap, these are all so good. It's very hard to describe. If you're looking for, or if you've played the Donkey Kong Country series, or you've played former or previous Rare games, you know how they sound. You know the type of music that they went for when it came to platformers, and that's exactly what this sounds like, but all new compositions. It's just so good. I can't get enough of it. So good and can't get enough of it. That is how I'm going to end this review. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is so good, and I can't get enough of it. It really goes to show that Playtonic still has it. The spirit of Rare is still in them, and they are more than capable of crafting an excellent 2D platformer. They have tried and true mechanics, they have excellent level design, they know what they're doing. Man, it's so good. It's such a blast. If you are even slightly into 2D platformers, I highly recommend you check this out. If you're into 2D platformers, you were probably already paying attention to this game, but I'm telling you, get even more excited about it. It is that good. There's so many flashes of brilliance here, and there's no lulls really. It's just a blast all the way through. There are moments that harken back to some of Rare's classic games. Like there's a moment in particular that gave me a real Battletoads vibe, Turbo Tunnel Battletoads vibe, because of the pacing and the speed. And I was like, man, yeah, these guys know how to make some fun 2D experiences. It's a blast. I could gush about it forever. I am going to talk about it more on this coming weekend's podcast, and I will answer your questions, and I'll have even more time to just go on and on and on about how much I love this game. But yeah, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, well worth your time. An excellent follow-up to Yooka-Laylee, and should be an experience that makes many more people happy. I can't imagine people not liking this game a lot more than they did Yooka-Laylee. So hopefully too many people don't feel burnt by Yooka-Laylee and are willing to dive back in with Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, because it's worth every penny.